All right, buckle up. Because today we're diving into some seriously fascinating stuff. You ready for this? We're tackling the life of Jesus, but hold on. We're looking at it through the lens of this book, the Urantia book.
Okay.
And trust me, this isn't your grandma's Sunday school version, okay? The Urantia book goes deep, like really deep, offering this crazy detailed and some might even say unconventional take on Jesus's life, his teachings, everything.
Yeah.
It's not just about the miracles and the parables, though there's plenty of that too.
Right.
This book, it dives headfirst into the political climate back then, all the power struggles going on, really makes you see Jesus in a whole new light.
It's wild when you think about the political tightrope that Jesus had to walk.
Wait.
You've got Roman rule, tensions bubbling over with the Jewish authorities. I mean, talk about a powder keg. And yet, Jesus somehow navigates all of that with this incredible awareness.
It's like, I don't know, history book mixed with a political thriller or something.
It really is. Take Herod Antipas, for instance.
Okay, yeah.
You've got this ruler known for being absolutely ruthless.
Right.
But the Urantia book claims he was actually surprisingly tolerant of Jesus.
Wait, Herod, tolerant of Jesus. Now that's a curveball I did not see coming.
Right. It's a wild one.
So what's the deal there? What's the explanation?
Well, the book suggests that it all came down to Herod's inner circle, his household. Some members, they'd actually become believers in Jesus, which probably made Herod think twice.
Oh, for sure.
It wasn't so much about Herod having some kind of spiritual awakening, but more about the political fallout, right? You don't mess with a guy who's got friends in high places.
No, you don't. Imagine the rumors flying around the palace. Yeah. Did you hear Herod's cook is a Jesus fan?
Right.
Talk about high stakes, just whispering about it could get you in trouble.
Absolutely. But here's the thing. While Herod might have been willing to turn a blind eye, the Urantia book suggests the real danger for Jesus. It came from a whole other direction. The religious leaders in Jerusalem.
Oh, interesting, because you think they'd be, like, on the same team, right?
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But not so much. We'll unpack all that a bit later.
Okay.
Essentially, Jesus, his teachings, his whole approach to spirituality, it totally shook up the religious establishment back then.
Okay.
They saw it as this huge threat to their power, their authority, everything.
So even in those early days, there's this underlying tension. It wasn't just about spreading a message of peace and love. It was a tightrope walk, a dangerous one.
Absolutely.
And speaking of danger, can we talk about the Roman centurion's servant for a second?
Oh, yeah.
This story in the Urantia book, it really makes you think about faith, miracles, that whole thing.
It's like a crash course in how different folks saw Jesus,
Totally.
Here you've got this Roman centurion.
Yeah.
A guy with real authority, right, part of a system that often butted heads with Jesus's message.
Right.
But this guy, he has this unshakable faith in Jesus's ability to heal his servant.
And it's not just faith, it's deeper than that. It's like this incredible humility, too.
Oh, absolutely.
He tells Jesus, look, you don't even need to come to my house, man.
Yeah.
Just say the word, and my servant will be healed.
Powerful stuff.
That's a big statement, especially coming from a guy in his position.
Speaks volumes about how the centurion saw authority, he understood it. He saw a connection, a parallel between his own position and the kind of spiritual authority Jesus had. Like, he knew that sometimes a word from the right person, a superior, that was all it took to get things done. And he believed, truly believed, that Jesus had that same power, but in the spiritual world.
And this is where the Urantia book throws us a curveball. You ready for this? It doesn't actually come right out and say if Jesus performed an actual physical miracle here.
Leaves it open-ended.
So it gets you thinking, right?
Huh?
Was it the servant's faith alone that healed him? Or was there something more going on behind the scenes?
That's the beauty of how the Urantia book approaches these events. It doesn't always give you a clear-cut answer. It doesn't tie everything up in a neat little bow. Instead, it lays out the story, the emotions, all the context. And then it kind of steps back and says, all right, now you wrestle with it. It lets the reader really dig in and grapple with these mysteries.
It's engaging, You're not just sitting there passively taking in information. You're an active participant trying to unravel these age-old questions.
Exactly. It's a much more interactive experience.
Way more interesting that way. So we get this Roman guy with his unwavering faith. But then you see how sometimes Jesus encountered resistance, even skepticism, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a recurring theme for sure.
And it makes you realize spiritual understanding, it doesn't always follow the expected path.
Right. And the Urantia book, it kind of drives that point home. It's suggesting that truth, it can pop up in the most unexpected places.
Hmm.
Makes you check your own biases at the door.
For sure. You might think you've got it all figured out. But then the Urantia book comes along and says, hold on a minute. Are you really paying attention?
Exactly. It's a good reminder to stay open-minded, don't get so stuck in your ways that you miss out on truth just because it shows up wearing a different outfit than you're used to.
It's like that saying, don't judge a book by its cover.
Exactly. And that willingness to question, to really dig into our beliefs, even the ones we hold most dear. Well, that's often what leads to the most compelling stories in the Urantia book. Like, take Jesus's interactions with the Pharisees, for instance.
Oh, yeah, the Pharisees. Those guys were intense.
They were the religious heavyweights back then. Scholars, leaders, the whole 9 yards, known for being sticklers for the rules. Jewish law, tradition, they were all about it. And the Urantia book doesn't sugarcoat the clashes between Jesus and this group.
Oh, no, it definitely doesn't.
Not one bit.
So for someone who doesn't know much about the Pharisees, imagine, like, the strictest rule followers you can think of times 10. They were all about upholding the letter of the law.
And they saw Jesus as a threat, a disruptor.
Oh, totally. And one story that really captures this whole tension is the one with Simon the Pharisee.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
This story, with the unnamed woman who anoints Jesus' feet, it's like a masterclass in contrast. You've got these outward displays of piety going head-to-head with genuine compassion and repentance.
You've got Simon judging this woman for her past, totally missing the point of what she's doing. And then you've got Jesus seeing right into her heart. It's a powerful reminder that true spirituality is not about appearances. It's about what's going on inside.
It's about the inner transformation, that real change of heart, not just going through the motions, following the rules blindly.
Exactly. And that's a core theme throughout the Urantia book. This focus on what's happening internally is huge. It's saying that true spiritual growth, it's an ongoing journey, not some finish line you cross.
So less about checking boxes, more about, like, really connecting with your purpose, finding meaning.
Absolutely. It's about recognizing that we're always evolving, always growing closer to our true nature. And that journey, it happens both within us and in how we interact with the world around us.
So it's not just about meditating on a mountaintop somewhere.
Nope. It's about how we show up in our daily lives, how we treat others, how we navigate challenges. It's about taking those inner transformations and letting them guide our actions in the real world.
And that brings us to another fascinating part of the Urantia book. The way it portrays our relationship with God.
Yeah.
It's not your typical fire and brimstone kind of thing, is it?
Not at all. It challenges that whole idea of God as this distant, judgmental figure. Instead, it paints a picture of a God who's intimately involved in our lives, who wants us to grow, to transform, but who also respects our freedom to choose our own path.
So it's less about blind obedience and more about understanding why the rules are there in the first place.
Precisely. It's about aligning our actions and intentions with a deeper sense of purpose, with the will of God as we come to understand it.
And that's something anyone can connect with, right? It doesn't matter where you come from or what you believe. We're all on this journey of spiritual growth together.
Absolutely. And it's a journey that's unique to each of us. No two paths are the same.
And the Urantia book doesn't shy away from the fact that there are consequences to our choices, right?
It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
It emphasizes that, yes, God is loving and merciful, but there's also a natural order to the universe.
Cause and effect.
Exactly. Our choices have an impact. Our actions ripple outward, and those consequences, they're all part of the learning process.
It's about understanding that we're not just along for the ride. We're active participants in shaping our own destinies.
We've covered a lot of ground, but I feel like we're just scratching the surface of what the Urantia book has to say about Jesus.
Oh, we've barely scratched the surface. There are so many layers to unpack, so many profound teachings on love, forgiveness, the kingdom of God, you name it.
It's wild to think there's so much more to explore. This deep dive, it's really opened my eyes to a whole different way of looking at things.
It's been an eye-opener for me, too. And, one of the things I find most fascinating about the Urantia book is how it encourages us to approach these ancient stories, these spiritual teachings, with fresh eyes and open hearts.
It's like the Urantia book is handing you a toolbox. It's
Right.
saying, here's the story, here's what others have said, now go build something.
It's about engaging with these ideas, not just accepting them passively.
Exactly. Don't just take our word for it or anyone's word for it, really. Dive in and find your own truth.
That's what's so refreshing about it. It's not about dogma or blind faith. It's about encouraging a personal journey.
Totally. Asking those tough questions, the ones that make you squirm a little,
Oh, yeah.
and then having the guts to actually live out the answers,
Yeah,
even if they turn your world upside down.
absolutely. And that's what I think is so powerful about how the Urantia book presents Jesus.
What do you mean?
It doesn't just show him as this divine figure, untouchable. It shows him as a human being, someone who felt things deeply,
Yeah.
who struggled, who felt the weight of his mission. And even with all that, he chooses love, forgiveness, even when he's facing unimaginable suffering.
It makes you realize he wasn't some distant figure. He went through things, just like we do.
Exactly. And that makes his message, his life, all the more powerful. It's
Yeah.
like, look, I get it. I've been there, but this is the way through.
It's that perfect blend of the human and the divine all in one.
It's at the heart of the Urantia book's message. We're all capable of that same love, that same transformation.
We've all got that little spark of the divine in us, just waiting for the right moment to ignite.
Exactly. And that's the adventure the Urantia book lays out for us, this journey of self-discovery, of spiritual growth, of realizing just how connected we are to everything.
It's that aha moment when you realize you're not just this isolated being, you're part of something way bigger.
And that's a game changer. That shift in perspective can be so freeing, so liberating.
Totally.
It's like you can finally breathe again. You can face challenges with more grace, more compassion, and a deeper sense of purpose.
It's like finding that calm in the center of the storm.
Exactly. And that's a message that speaks to everyone, no matter where you come from, what you believe. We're all searching for that connection, that meaning.
We want something more than just the day-to-day grind.
We want to feel like we're home, like we're finally where we're supposed to be.
It's about coming home to yourself, to who you really are.
And sometimes, that journey inward, it leads to some pretty incredible outward changes, too.
Oh, absolutely. When you start connecting with that inner spark, it's like it can't help but spill out into the world around you.
You start treating people differently. You see the world with new eyes. Your priorities shift. Suddenly, things that seem so important just fade away.
And the things that truly matter, the things that really make a difference, they come into sharp focus.
That's the real test, isn't it? Not just what we say we believe, but how we actually live our lives.
It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk. It's about living out those values, those ideals, every single day.
Love, compassion, understanding, forgiveness, all of it. And that's what makes the Urantia book so powerful, so relevant even today. It's not just a book of ancient wisdom, it's a call to action.
It's like a pep talk for the soul, saying, you've got this, now go out there and be amazing.
Exactly. Embrace your potential. Embrace your own divinity.
Create a world that reflects those values, that reflects the best of who you are. Wow, we've covered some serious ground today. From political dramas to spiritual awakenings, this deep dive into the Urantia book's take on Jesus has been incredible.
It's been a wild ride, that's for sure.
So for our listeners who are feeling intrigued, maybe even a little inspired, where should they start? If they want to learn more, dig deeper into the Urantia book, what's your advice?
I'd say just jump in. Grab a copy of the book and start reading. Don't be afraid to take your time. It's a big book, a lot to unpack.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. Ask questions, ponder the ideas, see what resonates with you.
It's all about the journey, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, the Urantia book is about encouraging us all to embark on our own spiritual adventures.
To explore, to question, to discover.
And who knows what you might find along the way. Maybe a deeper understanding of yourself, of the universe, of everything.
The possibilities are endless.
That's the beauty of it, isn't it? There's always more to learn, more to discover. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, keep diving deep.